It was quite a busy day at the community college in Augsburg on July 1st, because today was English Day. Several lecturers from various community colleges of the Bavarian Association of Adult Education attended this event in anticipation of discovering new ways and methods of teaching the English language and finding out more about its development and progress as a whole. At 10 prompt, Stefan Glocker, the director of Augsburg's Community College, welcomed everybody and started off the English Day with his opening speech.
Also, viel Spaß hier in Augsburg an der Volkshochschule Weiden.
Afterwards, the teachers then became students for a day. A wide variety of workshops with subjects that included all forms of new teaching methods and also completely new approaches of teaching the language in general had been organized. But what makes this new way of teaching necessary? What has changed so that British and American English no longer have to be the standardized versions all over the world? Well, for a profound explanation, the teachers eagerly awaited the keynote, which was delivered by British linguist and author David Crystal via Skype.
You've asked me to talk this afternoon about the future of English. In fact, it should be as a title better, The Future of English Is, because that is what the future is all about. The proliferation of varieties of English around the English-speaking world. Let me start the story. If I were to say to you that your organization refreshes the parts that other organizations do not reach, what would be your reaction to that expression? You refresh the parts that other organizations do not reach. It is in fact a reference to an advertising campaign that the lager firm of Heineken, am I allowed to say Heineken in Germany? That's all right. Yeah. The lager firm of Heineken introduced in the 1970s. The slogan that they introduced lasted for over 20 years. It was the longest running slogan in English advertising history. It was, Heineken refreshes the parts that other beers do not reach. Heineken refreshes the parts other beers do not reach. The idea was that they were trying to persuade us all that if we drink a lager, it will make us a better person, both physically and mentally. And it became part of the consciousness of British English people who saw this advertisement week after week after week.
Week after week after week. Sounds pretty similar to typical classes. Yet, every year education progresses. Every year, new students with different cultural backgrounds want to learn English, and simply because of that, they can change the actual language and influence it. And as the lecturers informed themselves of new teaching material from various publishing houses, which were also present at this event, or decided to take a break and have lunch, one thing became apparent even within the small group of people. Different cultural backgrounds can change the understanding of a certain language. David Crystal proves this by a further Heineken example.
Let me tell you now another story from in the middle of that campaign, when I was teaching on a front school English as a foreign language, and the class was Japanese teachers. And we decided to go for a walk around the streets, look for authentic English. And as we were walking down one street, we saw one of the Heineken that it said, Heineken refreshing the parrots other beers do not reach. The Japanese looked at each other, and then, as they do when they get dreamy, they started to talk to each other very, very, very fast, and I could not understand what they were saying. And I said, what is the problem? And they said to me, refresh parrot. What does it mean? Here are a group of competent English language people. They understand the grammar of that sentence. They understand all the vocabulary of the sentence. They could pronounce the sentence fine, good intonation. But they still could not understand the sentence. Why not? Because, of course, they lack the cultural background of that particular sentence. And I had to explain it to them, just as I've been explaining it to you just now. In short, they lack the cultural background of the sentence. And this is key to understanding the way English is developing around the world at the moment. Because increasingly, we go around the English world, we encounter examples like the Eine one, where you and I would be confused by the local cultural insertion into the language that we could not possibly understand because we do not understand the culture. In this context, cultural differences, there is no difference between the first language learner of English and the second language learner of English. If a native speaker of English has not encountered that cultural example, he or she will be as confused about it as the Japanese speakers were.
These cultural differences and subsequent changes of meanings of certain words and phrases were debated afterwards in a panel discussion. One has to ask himself where these influences will lead to. Will there be an internationally standardized English sooner or later? Can a language even be cleared of cultural influences? The answer is no. Even something as small and insignificant as a proverb can often barely be translated into another language. Instead, it seems a lot more likely that there will be a whole bunch of variations of the often so-called global language, English.
For every one native speaker of English, there are now 5 or 6 non-native speakers of English. And who owns English now? The answer has to be you. Everybody. All over the world where people speak it, they have ownership rights in it now. And increasingly people are beginning to respect Australian English, New Zealand English, South African English, and now Indian English, and Ghanaian English, and Nigerian English, and so on, as being varieties in their own right, not any longer just colloquial variety spoken on the streets, but a literary variety as well. So you see the West African novels, for example, or Caribbean poetry, and plays and poems and novels coming out of India, which are proud to use Indian English. And it's these new varieties that our students are going to increasingly encounter. Not because necessarily they're going to go to India or Nigeria or wherever, but because they will see these situations on the internet. And if they are into social media, they will be having chats with people from all over the English-speaking world who will be introducing into the chat expressions which represent the cultural background from which they come.
While this is certainly a matter worth and necessary of discussion, the staff of Augsburg's Community College managed to end the day's event by using a language that all the participants could understand. With a little bit of magic by illusionist Björk.
10 euros, 2 empty hands. 5 euros. 2 euros 50. €1.25. If I fold once more, I get half of that. But when I unfold, in front of your eyes, the 10 becomes 20, the 20 becomes 50, the 50 becomes 1